We're now into October, which has been scary season for UCF the last couple of years. They're winless in October the last 3 years. This week they head to Cincinnati trying to snap that streak against an old AAC foe that is trending upward. UCF, obviously, after the 3-0 start, they've dropped their last 2 to open Big 12 play. Cincinnati, since losing their opener against Nebraska, has routed off 4 wins in a row. They were storming the field at home against Iowa State last week. So with all that, we bring in our 2 experts here. I'm Chris Vinel. We've got Chris Boyle with us, per usual. You know him, you love him, our UCF beat writer. And we have the esteemed Scott Springer with us from the Cincinnati Enquirer. Scott, how are you, sir?
Very good. You can see I dressed up for the occasion with my ball hat and my stuff that I normally wear around the house. But here we are in my little dungeon with a bunch of minutia and memorabilia and stuff, but ready to talk some football. It's exciting times. October.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and you got the bookshelf behind you. I got the bookshelf behind me. Chris is in the middle of. Where are you, Chris?
Coffee shop. I'm at a coffee shop. That's why he's the esteemed Scott Springer, though. It's like the quotation marks of a wrestling nickname. That's what we need around here. That's going to follow him as long as I know him, as long as we've been in the same company now, as long as he still works with me. I think I will refer to him from here on out as the esteemed Scott Springer.
Well, listen, we're not lying.
Entrance music. Next time I come to the bounce house or the whatever the arena's called now, I forget. Is it FBC Mortgage or
Addition Financial Arena?
Addition, I got to get my financial straight. Addition Financial, yeah, with the best internet in the Big 12, that, as far as I can tell, right?
Definitely not.
Chris, I'm holding my fingers on your crossing my fingers on your connection here, but we shall see. Let's talk college football. Chris, we will start with you. What's the biggest storyline going on in UCF land this week?
It's been the same thing for feels like 6 weeks now. Who's starting a quarterback? I mean, it's been a revolving door at the position between injury and performance, mostly due to injury, especially the last couple of weeks. It's not just a question about who's going to start the game for the Knights now. It's who's going to finish the game. Last week, it was Taven Jackson for the 4th straight game starting, and then he was forced to leave the game in the 3rd quarter after a hit. X-rays were negative, according to Scott Frost. So it remains to be seen if he'll be able to practice this week or if he'll be able to play this week. He does feel good about Jakari Brown potentially being available, and that could be a big lift for the Knights. He played well against Cincinnati last year in a reserve role after E.J. Colson started the game. Was accurate throwing the football and obviously hurt teams with his ability to run it as well. So, whether it's in a starting capacity or whether he's using a complementary role potentially, if Cam Fancher is the guy that they go with again. Fancher just made his first appearance since August 28th and played the final quarter and a half of that game against Kansas last week. If that's the case, then you know what? They feel good about every guy on the roster in that spot. They've trusted them in different ways, and they think that the skill sets can be complementary of one another. It wouldn't surprise me if we see Brown and or Fancher play in this game.
Yeah, and we've seen Jakari Brown in certain packages, hey, try to go spark the run game for a few plays or for a drive. We've seen that even when a couple other quarterbacks are healthy. So something interesting to monitor there. Scott, same thing. What's the kind of the buzz in Bearcat land this week?
Well, I guess the buzz is, are they for real? This is the first time they've had 4 straight wins under Satterfield, and since they've been in the Big 12, first season starts 2-0, and then the very next game they lose to your local rival, Miami University, so that doesn't sit well. They finished that year 3-9, last year 5-2, and then dropped 5 straight games. You beat Arizona State and then still drop 5 straight games, and then you're out of it. So this year you're 4-1, and you really, one decent pass against Nebraska where maybe you're 5-0, because that last pass is intercepted against the Cornhuskers there in Arrowhead, and had he thrown that a little bit more, and that was Caleb Goody, who also caught a touchdown the last game, a little bit more where he could have gotten it. Maybe it's not picked off. Maybe they win, but woulda, shoulda, coulda. Those things don't happen. That's the way football is. But A big win at Kansas where you had a $1:45 left on the clock and Brendan Sorsby takes them down and they score and you silence the crowd there in Lawrence. And then Iowa State comes in ranked 12th in the coaches poll, 14th AP. Rocco Becht is very, very good. Matt Campbell, everybody wants to hire him every year and he stays in Ames. And they finally get a win over Matt Campbell and Iowa State, and they rushed the field, something I haven't seen since the 2021 AAC title game against Houston, and that was the year they made it to the semifinals. And Luke Fickell had one more year after that, and then off to Wisconsin he went, and he has his own struggles there. But yeah, it was fun to see the kids storm the field and all that. But are they back? You're at 4-1, but as you guys know, UCF had every opportunity to at least tie that game against Kansas. So there's certainly no pushover coming into Nippert. They've won here before. Shoot, the last time Scott Frost was here, I think I was just attending. Yeah, I was in the press box and it was raining cats and dogs. It was 51-23 early in the third quarter, and they just called it a night because the Knights might have scored 80 that night. And that was Fickell's first year, which was not a very good team, but Scott Frost, as you guys know, has had success at UCF. So he's been around Nippert before. I don't think he'll be scared.
No, not at all. I tend to agree with you there. Who's one offensive player and who's one defensive player for Cincinnati that Knights fans should know?
Well, Brendan Sorsby obviously is running the machine right now, and he's a dual threat guy and a little different dual threat guy. Usually, you say dual threat and you're thinking speedster. This is a kid that's 6'3", 235, and he does have some speed, but he has some moves, and he'll sometimes, even though the coaches want him to slide, he won't slide. He kind of goes at you like a 6'3", 235-pound guy might. Throwing the ball better. They had some success, had some balance against Iowa State. The previous year against Iowa State, he only threw for 66 yards, but they were able to run the ball. This time they were able to run the ball and throw the ball, so they've got it all going. You got some faster receivers. So Brendan Sorsby definitely on the offensive end. I could certainly name some others. Defensively, Jake Golday just won his second defensive player of the week. And he had 12 tackles, tackle for loss, a sack of Rocco Becht. He's another guy, 6'4", 240, runs, NFL prototype. Todd McShay likes him and all that. So I'd say him as far as the honors. Now, the one, Dante Corleone, the Godfather up front, he got to play last week. He didn't play against Kansas. He is so unique. He's not really a tall dude. I don't know that he's 6'1", but he's just a massive hulk of a man, just big hands, big everything, and he gets into the backfield almost in every play. So 3 tackles against Iowa State, you say no big deal, but he affects so many plays, which frees up other guys to come and do their thing. So Dante Corleone, who was healthy last week, back after a couple games, so hopefully he stays healthy and can go again Saturday.
He just looks imposing. Like he's got the big wide shoulder pads, and he puts his arms on the post-game press conference podium, and he's got biceps that are like bigger than Hulk Hogan's, and it's just crazy.
He was pounding that podium, and I thought, man, watch out what you do there. But he was like a Baptist preacher almost. He was, he was banging that thing and saying, everyone said we were no good and all that stuff. And I got to know him when he was in high school. And he was just this big kid that came over, and the first thing he said to me, I don't know, he's trying to sell himself. He said, I wear a size 18 shoe. And I turned around and I said, well, yes, you do. And he's got a hamburger named after him in town at one place. And I've seen him go to steakhouses, and he gets one steak and takes another back to the room. Big steaks.
Why not? Why not? If you can, if you become a local legend like he has the last couple of years, why not?
Well, if we only had NIL, it's the media NIL market's not very good. I can tell you that.
You sure? You just might need to get a new agent. Mine's doing all right, I think.
Well, if I can get somebody to mark me down as the esteemed Scott Springer, where I get an entrance robe and theme music and young ladies waving palms at me as I walk, we'll see.
Chris, who are some Knights to watch? Give me one offensive, one defensive.
Well, Corleone's going to really be a problem for them interior wise. They've rotated guards. They've played four guards. They've often flipped them in pairs throughout the course of the season. UCF. They've played guard Memelar and Keegan Smith together, and they've played Jabari Brooks together with. Oh, the name's escaping me right now, and I feel bad about that. But yeah, they've flipped it a few times there. They've played different guard combinations, and Corleone's going to be a real problem for them. I think as far as UCF's concerned, Miles Montgomery going back to Cincinnati, getting an opportunity to play against his old team, I think is certainly one aspect. He had his best game of the season this past week. The first quarter he ran for almost 100 yards and 2 touchdowns to get the game started against Kansas, and I kind of feel like as he goes, they go with him. So I think whoever the quarterback's going to be, whether it's Fancher, whether it's Brown, whether it's Jackson, I think they're going to have to get another big day out of Miles Montgomery to keep this game close. Defensively, they played a lot of 3 linebacker looks last week against Jaden Daniels, and I kind of expect that they may do the same this week with Sorsby's ability to run the ball, just needing some extra beef out there. To try to bring him down the open field. So Jaden McDonald, Lewis Carter, Cole Kozlowski, those 3 linebackers played a lot in the game against Kansas. I kind of think that'll be a similar plan to what they do this coming week.
Chris, I'm going to stick with you here, and I'm going to throw the always exciting question at you. Score prediction, give it to me.
I'd like to take this moment in time to formally apologize to Cam Kinney. That's the guard I kept blanking on. So he was the other player that I meant to mention there. As far as a score prediction is concerned, I think there's genuine worry among the fan base that this could become a boat race. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think you always get a little leery after a team has a big, often unexpected win for maybe a hangover effect as it pertains to Cincinnati. A lot of us were surprised that they'd got out there and crushed Iowa State in the first half, and it nearly got away from them. It kind of reminded me of the Pitt game from last year, where they got out to such a huge lead and things started to go sideways. But I do think Cincinnati right now at least has kind of an offensive identity. We know what they're going to do. We know that Sorsby's playing at a level that's about as well as anybody in the Big 12. I do think the Bearcats will hold serve and win this game at home. I'm going to pick them to win this game 35-20.
And after a couple of weeks of, just us being in the wrong, Chris, you rebounded last week with your score prediction. I think you were the closest, maybe off by a point or two. It was pretty close.
We were when we were looking at 14-0 there, UCF. It certainly looked like I yet again completely got it wrong. But I think this team's going to have its moments, and I think I think they've been okay, and I think people are tending to forget how much turnover and how many new players, and not only new players, but guys that haven't really been full-time starters elsewhere that are playing right now. And once you have a few injuries, and particularly key spots, things can start to kind of unravel. And I think, we've touched on the October thing a few times now. This would be, if they lose this one, it would be 9 straight losses in the month of October. And they've only got one chance after this to correct that when they get West Virginia, another team that's kind of in disarray right now. So I think that's more the game that fans should be holding judgment towards. I think if they lose to Cincinnati, obviously this is a team that's playing at a very high level right now, and all of a sudden looks like it could be a dark horse for Arlington. But if there's a problem against West Virginia, a team that really has been down in the dumps and is 0-3 on the road already this season, then I think you can start to get a little bit more nervous.
Scott, score prediction. What are you thinking this weekend?
Well, the hangover thing scares you, but I don't think this team is going to do that. I think they're pretty much driven. I mean, each week you walk into their new building, and they do have this majestic facility, indoor facility that they didn't have the past 2 seasons. So where now, if it's raining or something, you actually can still practice without having to go to the main stadium. So that's helped matters there. But I don't know what I predicted in my season preview. I'm pretty sure I predicted a Cincinnati win. So off top of my head, I'm going to go like 30-18. I don't know that it gets to be a runaway. I would think that the defense, back-to-back games giving up 34 and 30 points. I think the defense might bow up a little bit better this coming week, but offenses look pretty good. And it just seems like a lot of things are meshing together right now, which is a good sign. But again, most of the media guys this year have said to Scott Satterfield, "What is the difference? What is the difference?" Because in past years, these are games that you would have lost and you've won. So it's a good sign that they're finding ways to win and not finding ways to lose. So I'm liking what I'm seeing. So I'll go with that. I wouldn't take it to the bank and bet on it with the exact score, but we'll stick with that right now. And they've been good at home, and the kids all want, they call it nip at night. They haven't had a night game, but they've been going nip at noon, which guys like me, we enjoy noon kickoffs because we can maybe actually get out and have a semblance of a weekend after the game. But the college kids at halftime, they get a lead and they're off to the houses or whatever else they're doing.
Scott mentioned this too,
of young people.
Scott mentioned this a minute ago. Frost did win in his one trip to Nippert, and UCF has done okay there. There have been some times where they've gotten paddled up there. Don't get me wrong; like they got beat there badly. What was it in 2022? I think it was, and definitely the year that 21, I think it was, when I think Mikey Keene played, and that was the year that Cincinnati went to the playoffs. They've gotten beaten a few times pretty badly there, but they did win in 23, the first game that they played as Big 12 teams, and Frost took them up there and they won in 17. So it's not a place where UCF has no history of winning. There is some sort of precedent where fans can feel good about the opportunity to go up there and try to get a victory.
Gentlemen, that's all I got for you. Thanks for your insight as always. Scott, where can people find your work, find you?
Cincinnati.com. On X, it's S Springer Sports. Instagram, I think I'm still S Springer Sports on that. I don't know. Every now and then you might see a picture of where I ate or something like that on the Instagram. So that might not be of any interest whatsoever. But on the X/Twitter feed, it's S Springer Sports, and Cincinnati.com, Cincinnati Enquirer, and we put out a lot of stuff. And in between the Reds and the Bengals, they put it up every now and then.
Absolutely.
Maybe Chris, more so now since the Bengals are tanking and the Reds are done.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati, they're kind of holding on to that last bastion of like, maybe Cincinnati's good, maybe the Bearcats are good. So
yeah.
Chris, where can people find your stuff?
They can find my stuff at news-journalonline.com and also on X at Chris Boyle DBNJ. And this is a rivalry game, and I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about this rivalry when basketball season rolls around, because there may or may not be reasons why next year's meetings between the Knights and Bearcats on the hardwood might be a little bit more contentious than normal.
We'll run it back then with the esteemed Scott Springer with us. Should be a fun one at noon on Saturday. We will see you next week to break it all down.